Exploring your kids' creative side, imagination, and artists attributed is the purpose of the 12th annual Kids Comic Con initiative. Has worked to bring art, imagination, family, and fun, all together everywhere they go. And joining us now is Alex Simmons, the co-founder of Kids Comic Con, and good to have you.
Same here.
Hey,
Thank you for inviting me.
Thanks for coming to share with us. And so we talk about comic books. Obviously, I mean, I grew up on them.
Yep.
Spider-Man, Batman,
The whole nine, yeah.
Right. It's kind of things have kind of evolved, right? And in major ways.
Oh, big ways, big ways. I mean, when I was growing up, and I'm a little older than you, my mother used to refer to them as funny books, and a lot of teachers and people referred to them as sort of trash or that sort of nonsense, but it wasn't real books, real reading. And one of the things that's evolved over the past 20 years alone is that comics are now seen as a legitimate part of literacy. It's always encouraged kids to read. It's always encouraged kids to imagine all kinds of possibilities and fantastic adventures. But now the educational world and the literate world is starting to see that it has other stronger foundations and connections to literacy, to reading, to expanding consciousness.
So let's talk about you for a minute. Obviously, you've been doing this for a minute, as you said. And so now you have the opportunity to take your comic book expertise and really bring it to local artists here.
Well, it started out a long time ago, as I was just telling you. I noticed that the industry many years ago started to move away from kids and family material. They were doing more what they considered adult material. And really a lot of children, especially with reading or learning disabilities or just challenges, comics was an accessible way into that, the world of imagination, reading. It took kids who were in a sort of a challenged position, it took them out into the world or out into the fantastic. So it expanded the possibilities. And when an industry moves away from that, I felt there was a major loss. So I started asking some of the conventions, just to have a kids section. Let's just do that. Some did, some didn't. So a few years ago, back in 2006, I met Eugene Adams, who's the Director of Educational Outreach at Bronx Community College. And he offered up an opportunity for me to do workshops with kids in middle school, high school, and also some college students. I've been doing it elsewhere, but I was doing it there. Then he offered up the opportunity for me to do a symposium there so that college students could see there's a career in this field. And then he asked me, well, what else do you want to do? He hadn't learned not to ask me that, right? And I said, well, I've always wanted to do a family event. We figured we'd do it one time. He said, fine, let's go. It was so successful that we've been continuing to do it every year for the past 11 years. This year will be our 12th.
Wow. So what happens at this particular event?
We bring a whole bunch of folks together, okay? So I reach out normally to not only the professionals I know in the industry, because I do write, I've written for DC, for Archie and so forth, but I'll reach out to some of my friends in that realm, but also to independent artists that I've met, also to up and coming, and they can come and they can have a table where they, either sell their wares or present what's happening, but more importantly, we give free workshops in drawing and creating to the young people that come. And I stop saying kids sometimes because people think, oh, you're only dealing with the younger. No, we have kids are kids. So
Right.
it's the little ones right on up to, 19, 20.
Kids at heart.
Exactly. And so you can come, you can meet these artists, you can buy comics if you want, you can attend workshops in various levels of drawing capabilities. Also, we have puppeteers and other types of artists who come and they show how we do this or how drawing sequentially connects to making films or making television, because there's storyboards and things like that. So it's about opening up people's minds to possibilities. And certainly kids who are more connected to computers, they can learn, well, what is computer coloring? Or how do I create animation, things like that. So we'll have people who can talk about that as well. So it's a one-day event, but we cram a lot into it.
Right. So for people who want to take advantage of this, be a part of this, if somebody's watching now with their youngsters saying they want to come on, what do they do?
Well, they got to bring themselves
That's
this Saturday, April 21st. They come to Bronx Community College up there on 181st Street and University to Colston Hall. And I'm sure somewhere you guys have the flyer for that.
Yes.
So this is our 12th annual, so they can get there. We're there from 10 in the morning until 6 o'clock in the evening. And we'll have, as I said, the artists, we'll have workshops, we'll have a number of demonstrations. We'll also have a costume parade for kids, so kids can come in costume. Adults can come too.
Right.
And we'll also have some cosplayers there, so there'll be adults in costume, and I think you have an image of that as well.
Yeah. So what's the takeaway after people have this experience? For somebody who just may be come in and watch it and they have the first time experience, what kind of feedback do you get?
There's so many levels. I don't think we have time to cover all, but I'll just try and do it in bullet points. We have brought communities together because not only does this serve the community around BCC, but we've had people come in from Connecticut, from Manhattan, come from Queens, come from Chicago. We had an animator come who worked with Disney come all the way from California and appear there one time. So it brings people together because comics is a sort of a common denominator, a collaborator. The other things it's done is we've had people thank us for creating an event that they could bring their family to. And I've actually had sometimes grandparents or aunts, uncles standing there with tears in their eyes because they can see their kids having a great time and so forth. So it's been encouraging. We've had young people come to us years ago as children enjoying this who've now followed into a career, or it's opened up their path in terms of looking at reading or writing, and so, because it's told them it's possible. If you can imagine it, make a plan, it's possible to achieve something.
And I want you to speak to that. Let's talk about the career aspect, because there is a career that can be made out of
Absolutely. You know, a lot of people think comic books is a person, one person, drawing and writing and coloring and then making it happen. And it's collaboration on so many levels. There are the writers, the editors, the illustrators. If you're working with hard paper and pen, that's one thing. But there are people who do the computer skills. There are graphic designers. There's production. You have to understand how to separate colors, how to do the printing. You have to understand distribution, retail. If you do the drawing for comics, you are in a position to learn to do advertising. So you can do advertising art. You can also learn to do what we call storyboards. Storyboards are illustrated versions of what a filmmaker uses to plan out the commercial that we see on television, the TV shows, the movies we go to the theaters for. There's so many levels, and then there's international. Pardon me, through KCC, we've connected children in different countries working on a collaborative project of comics, but here they're sharing, here's what it's like in my country as opposed to, you know, what do you do in yours that's similar or different? Because this is also a line of communication. So you can start to meet people and learn things and develop things, tell your own personal story through like journals or biographies, but you can also tell fantastic stories, you know, science fiction and whatever. So there's all of these levels, and of course, if you're doing science fiction, then you have to do research. So the things you learn in school become valid in another form.
Well, Alex Simmons, we thank you for coming to share with us. He's an award-winning freelance writer, and he's written comic books and also for Disney Books, Penguin Press, Simon & Schuster, DC Comics, Archie, and good to have you right here with us.
Thank you very much.
Hey, man, thanks so much for
coming. Hopefully we'll see these folks this Saturday, April 21st.
That's right. Saturday it is. Saturday it is. All right, listen, taking a quick break. We'll be back with more Open coming up. We'll be right back in a few.